welcome to another edition of Islandstats Sports Talk. I'm here with none other than two-time Olympian, Allan Burch. Roy, it's been a journey for you.
Yeah.
We'll leave the disappointment till later. Let's talk about what has been going on over the last 4-year cycle for you, leading up to trying to qualify for the Olympics.
Well, everything's basically been working towards being in a final, Olympic final in Rio. So it was basically, you know, every day, every race was trying to figure out how I get down to being competitive. And so I had, I would say, you know, some somewhat disappointing summers. Some things came out of them. Summer 2013 wasn't the way I thought it would go. Commonwealth in 2014 wasn't what I thought it was. And then I got injured 2015, so it's been kind of a strange go at this quadrennial. The quadrennial was probably the hardest one I've had the whole time, and you know, I can't say it's all disappointment. I learned a lot and got to do a lot and had a good lifestyle, so you know, it's hard one to not get to where you want to be, but at the same time I feel like I'm where I need to be. 2012, you finished London.
Yeah. And you really set your sights on 2016. Coming out of 2012, what are you telling yourself you were trying to do to make sure you're in that particular final that you're looking for in Rio?
It was mainly about finding that amount of time that I had found when I first got to my pro team. So I got there and I dropped a lot of time. I spent a lot. I was with the pro team a lot, and then in London I didn't swim as well as I wanted to, but that was mainly because I wasn't really with the pro team as much, and so the technique and a lot of the things that I needed to work on I didn't get. So it was mainly about finding my technique, finding my stroke, figuring out what was going to make me swim faster, and I had really gotten a hold of that probably like a couple months before my injury, and which is probably the more disappointing part.
I've seen you grow over the years. When I saw you in Scotland at the Commonwealth Games,
yeah.
I personally looked at you and said, this is the best I've seen you look. Speaking to you at the time, frame of mind, everything.
Yeah.
But you say it wasn't what you thought it would be. What really you think things went kind of away from that performance?
I just didn't. I don't think I rested enough. I've really now come to find out that I need to be off of weights for a long time, and I only get better when I stay out of the weight room for a while and let myself recover. And I just didn't give myself the opportunity to do that, and I didn't know it at the time. I was just following the programming that I had, and it wasn't until I changed my weight coach and really reinvented how I worked out in the weight room that I figured out how much time I actually needed to rest. So I swam all right there. I swam a personal best in the 100, but my speed wasn't there, which for me, I needed more time to heal up, and so that I had worked on a lot mentally, and I think that was the beginning of where I was about to get myself. But I just I had the injury the year later, so I just didn't have the opportunity to really see what I was capable of.
Later on in that year, 2014,
yeah.
You went to Veracruz, Mexico for the CAC game, and you made it to the B final.
No, I made the A final.
A final,
yeah.
Sorry, A final, and you get off to a flying start.
Yeah.
But technically, we talked about this. Technically, you went back after that, and you just said, all I need to do is work on the technical part of the race. But also, it's technical but mental as well.
Yeah.
How much mental work do you have to put in to make sure your technique is right to sustain you over a 50-meter race?
Well, I mean, that's on a daily basis. So anytime I'm training, sprinting, I'm trying to put myself in that aspect of the race. And for me, it comes down to being a lot more relaxed when I sprint. And in Veracruz, I wasn't relaxed. So I hit it real hard, and then got to the end of the race, and I just locked. And I've really been able to figure that out more lately, that the easier I let myself flow, with the water, then the better I swim. And so that's been a very important new thing for me to have come upon is relaxing a lot more when I sprint and just keeping my levels down. I can get a little ramped up, which can make it difficult for me to go fast.
2015, you're a year and a bit away from the Olympics, and disaster. Personal disaster for you, total disaster for Bermudians. Just watching you go through that whole cycle. Take us back to that morning in training.
Well, that week we had an adaptation week, and so that was kind of, we had done 12 weeks of overtraining, and the adaptation week was just light. It was still some intense work, but it was a Friday, and I was feeling good because we hadn't really gone as hard as we had been going all week. And you know, I was just having some fun warming up casually for a Friday workout, and I went to catch an alley-oop off the backboard, and the next thing I know, I'm 4 feet off the ground about to land on my back, and I just didn't understand what happened. I knew I didn't slip, and it was just a strange feeling. I felt my kneecaps, you know, the hollow feeling in that area of my body, and when I hit the floor and I realized my knees were hurting, and I couldn't bend my legs, and I was just flabbergasted. I didn't know what happened to me, and then people in the room ran over and they thought I hurt my back, and I was like, nah, my knees are killing me. I need help, like right now. And yeah, it was just a crazy moment, and I guess I felt everything kind of come to a full stop. And I didn't really know the extent of what I was going to be experiencing, you know, up until after surgery. But it was a strange day.
You come out of surgery and the doctor's talking to you. Are you hearing what he's saying, or are you still in a like, this can't be real, you know, atmosphere?
Once I got to meet the doctor and my physician's assistant, and the way they were looking at me, and when he was telling me I had to go into surgery, at that moment I had accepted, you know, that I was done for the year at least, or at least the summer. Or, you know, I didn't know how long recovery would be, but I knew I wasn't going to be doing anything over the summer.
Right.
And then after about 3 days after surgery, I was like, I'm really not doing anything. I lost 20 pounds, but you know, they were keeping me confident. The doctors, they were trying to be, you know, positive, but at the same time, it was like, well, you know, you might be able to do this then, but really they're like, this is going to take a year. It's going to take 18 months for you to feel, you know, the way you want to feel, and it has taken that long.
Right. Did that put a drive in you to say, I want to be better quicker?
I think it just, I don't know if it made me be better quicker, just smarter. Everything that I did, I didn't waste any time. It was like, from getting in the water, I was super focused, way more focused than I ever had been, and I was asking a lot more questions. I was just trying to figure out, you know, it wasn't like I was trying to go from A straight to B. There was no going over to A.5 or whatever, right. You know. Right. It was like A to B. And if I couldn't get straight there, then I'd wait. Right. You know, I would rest, or if I was feeling too hurt, I would stop, make sure that I recovered completely, taking care of my body to a higher level, and then get moving forward. It was no like pushing over the limit anymore.
Come out of the hospital, you're in a wheelchair, both legs out straight.
Yeah.
Take us through those times of it's got to be, for you, an active person, it's got to be frustrating having people have to
do everything.
Do everything.
Yeah. It was, just didn't realize how vulnerable you are in a wheelchair, especially with the legs out straight, not being able to get in and out of the car. You know, people helping putting my legs in the car, and just being so fragile. And one thing I really remember is my muscles were still firing, and I didn't have control over them. And I was sitting in the hospital bed, and all of a sudden they shot, and the pain felt like someone took a hammer and just drove it through my knee.
Right. And
I couldn't believe it, and it was so overwhelming. It made me pass out. And so, like, you know, the same thing with the wheelchair. We're going in the wheelchair, we get home, and I drop off a lip. you know, in the doorway, about an inch high, and it was the most painful. It like makes me sick to think about how painful it was, but I reference everything back to that pain now. So when I train and when I'm doing the work, it's nothing.
What were your teammates like over the period of recovery?
Well, everybody had a different reaction. Some people kind of was like, they didn't want to get too close, like you might catch the injury. Others embraced it and like really wanted to be around and hear about what I had to say, how my body was feeling, and just really being there for me. If I needed someone to just sit next to me, you know, that was important. I've never sat down for 3 weeks straight, and it's a strange time to just sit there and be with yourself for 24 hours a day and not be able to do the normal things that just put your feet on the floor.
That first lot of physio you went through, give us a sense of the pain and the struggle you endured, especially the first time you done the physio.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've seen some equipment that you've done physio on that I've never seen before in my life, and some of the things that you had to do to get the strength back, the mobility back, incredible.
Thank you. Well, the main thing was starting off with the machine that bent my leg for me. And I had anxiety in that a lot because I just was like, oh, it's taking my leg up, is it gonna break again, you know? And it didn't, obviously, but and it wasn't going to, but just that feeling of it bending, and it's like, like relief every time for 5 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you got your little one here.
Yeah.
But over the course of the time that you had to do this physio, was it any point in time that you said, you know what, I don't feel like going through this anymore?
Most of the time it was like, what am I doing? You know, probably almost every day I think I asked myself that question. But the other question to ask was, if you don't do this, where will you be? And that was more important. It was more about getting healthy again, and I had to start from zero. So it's like the first step, I wasn't thinking about Rio, you know, it's like I need to walk.
Right.
You know, that's my first goal. Get back on my feet and get walking, and then I'll go from there. So once I got to walking, then it's like, you know, get in the pool, see how I swim, and then just take the steps. I was never looking way down the line. I was looking at every day as its own entity, doing what I needed to do for the day, whether it was do the physio or just rest, and taking it piece by piece. Because honestly, some days it felt like my soul was being crushed, like ripped apart by some of the pain that I had to deal with in physio.
Having your wife and family right there, how much strength did that give you?
That was probably the driving force. I've always been able to stand up and pick up my kids and throw them around and run around with them and have fun, and I couldn't do any of that. I couldn't ride the bike, I couldn't run, you know, it was just everything, you know, you're just stuck in a chair or physically just can't move at very quickly. So it was a driving force just to be healthy for them and get back to a level where I could be the father that I was used to being, and the husband.
The family back in Bermuda, your brother's over in China?
Who knows? I think he's in England, maybe in Germany, somewhere like that.
But having family able to be in contact, is that also a helping hand as well?
For sure, definitely mentally, but a lot of the help I needed was physical. And so it was just as important if somebody came to the house and just kind of picked up the weight or the slack that I wasn't able to do. You know, the man stuff, taking out the trash and empty the dishwasher, or you know, clean up the yard or whatever needs to be done. That part was also important, but it was also, you know, definitely great to have the family there and helping me get back. Okay, buddy.
When you have your son around you, now that you're somewhat healthier, and you look at your son and you start saying to yourself, most of it's for the youngsters in the family?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you just want to provide for your family and make sure they have a good means of living, and I can do that. So there's nothing lacking,
Right.
you know. I'm not going to Rio, but I still am able to provide and do what I need to do as a father and a husband. So that's the most important part of it all, and this injury has really helped me come to realize that.
But we play soon.
Over there, take it up to Ben.
We get to the national championships here in Bermuda, and it's AOB standard, kind of deal on the line. You've got a few other opportunities to try and qualify,
Yeah.
but you really wanted to do it in Bermuda. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
What were some of the contributing factors to that not happening in Bermuda?
Mainly pain management, and not having the kind of pain management that I needed at the time. So that made it a little more difficult, and also I just needed more time. I just didn't have the rhythm in my legs that I needed to swim a little bit faster. So I was consistent, and I hit the time. I hit around the same time every race.
Right.
So it really just came down to needing more time to recover, heal, and get in that rhythm back in the legs that we just build up naturally over our lifetime.
So you go back after the national championships, and you've got the CIS, which is the final opportunity to try and qualify. On the flight from Charlotte to get down to the Bahamas, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What goes through your mind? What are you saying to yourself you have to do to be successful?
I was actually preparing my mind for anything. I was prepared to race in the rain, in the heat, in the cold. I mean, even though I knew there wouldn't be certain things, I just was like, be ready for anything. And so I was like, even be ready to fail, you know? And like, I deep down, I felt like I knew that I needed the A cut. But I was like to have thought that the invite would mean something in the personal triumph that I had in having been to the Olympics and trying to go to the Olympics, and what it meant, what the Olympics means to me and most everybody else. But yeah, just preparing myself for anything to happen, and that was basically it. I tried not to think too much. It was just like, be ready for whatever. If something happens, it's cool.
What is preparing? Because a lot of people don't know how to express. How do you prepare for failure? How do you prepare just in case it don't work out?
By making sure that you've done everything possible. To me, I did everything I possibly could up until that point. I just needed more time to be faster. So it wasn't just about me. It was just the way the world turns, and I can't speed that up. There's nothing I can do about time other than live within the moment that I had. One of my main goals was to actually get on the podium, and so I did that. You know, I was in a heat with a bunch of guys that I knew from a long time. They knew I wanted to beat them, and I beat some of them, and I got on the podium, and that was exciting for me to get back to a place where it felt familiar, and something that, you know, a goal that I had set out that I attained, and that was exciting for me.
The final morning, what's on the line is obviously that B time.
Yeah.
You get it in the relay.
Yeah.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
But getting to the pool that morning, you say to yourself, okay, give it all.
Yeah.
But you just said it was more about podium. So how does you're on the blocks, and you're waiting for that sound to go off,
Yeah.
to say jump in the pool sort of thing. You do it, you get the B time. Are you satisfied? Or are you, because you have to come back in the night and do the final?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Are you satisfied with the B, or do you say going back on the bus, getting back to the hotel, relaxing for the afternoon, are you saying to yourself A or bus?
No, I was just saying to myself, go faster. It was a relief to do the swim again in the morning because the first one didn't count.
Right.
And then I did it again. I was like, okay, I can swim that fast. I'm good. But I made some mistakes so I can swim faster. And basically I was just like, clean up my mistakes, stay a little more relaxed, and get on the podium, and you should have a good time,
right.
you know. And I feel like a 22.7 is a good swim from not walking a year prior.
Right. You go into the final, you touch the wall, you turn back and you look up. Is it disappointment? What is it? What
No, I was happy.
Yeah,
I was happy. I couldn't actually see the time because the clock was kind of hidden from where we were at the end of the pool, but I was listening. So the guy next to me had been really fast, and you know, I've raced him before, and he's been swimming real fast. He's almost an A-cut swimmer, like 100th off of the A-cut or something. And I was right there with him, and so I could see him here, and I was like, as long as I get to the wall. I had been working on my finish to make sure that I was at full extension.
Right.
I just got my hand in there on the wall. I heard, you know, the guy next to me won, and then I heard the guy out in lane 1 came second. I was like, where did he come from? But and then I heard my name, and I was like, you know, I was happy.
Right.
And I heard my time, and I was like, oh, that's a good swim. You know, it's outdoors. It's not the best, most ideal conditions, and for me to hit that time in those conditions, I was pretty psyched.
When did you find out, or when was it expressed to you that you were not going to go to Rio?
I guess I kind
of quick.
I guess I kind of knew the whole time.
Right.
I deep down, I think I always felt like I was like, I'm pretty sure I need an A-cut, just due to the setup of the selection, and since Julian had universality already, and his universality was submitted. The way that even if I had universality, our FINA points, he would have had higher FINA points. His event is running higher, for whatever reason. So in order for me to even get the amount of FINA points he had, I needed an A-cut. So, and the only way for me to get there above the universality was an A-cut. And you know, that's kind of messy to me. I didn't want it to be that way. And it almost goes against the grain of what I tried to do when I started, is getting more of us into the Olympic movement and moving forward. Right. So, you know, it is what it is, and obviously I'm not going. He gets to go and represent, which is a good thing. And I just hope that he wants to continue afterwards. I hope he's more inspired.
You look around. I was looking at the board earlier, and you still have a record from 94 when you were 8 years old, 8 and under. Yeah. When you're that age, do you have ambitions of being an Olympian, or you just want to have fun in the pool?
I think I was probably a little more aggressive at that age. I feel like if I think back on it, no one really wanted to win that bad, and if I wanted to win, then I could win. And some kids were better at me at certain things, but I didn't allow that to be a factor for long. I would just train more and train harder. So I liked to win, and I don't know if I had the ambition to be an Olympian. People would start throwing that around, but just the desire to win and want to be the best around, you know, is the driving force, I suppose.
What does Roy do next?
Well, I have cuts for World Championships, and I still have goals in the sport. I've figured out a lot more about my pain management and how I can continue. So I would like to do another year. So talking to some sponsors, and hopefully can get this process going again. I just don't feel like I'm complete within the sport, especially with goals lingering and having figured out how to swim a lot faster, really coming to my stroke. Anthony Irvin, who I got the opportunity to train with, is 35, and he's swimming the 50 for the U.S. team this year at Rio, and so that was inspiring to see, you know, a 30-year-old guy, middle-aged 30s, doing what he's doing. So I'm one of the fastest times in the world at 35. So it changes the game, and I have the opportunity to make a living doing it, and I hope that Bermuda continues to give me the opportunity. I love representing Bermuda around the world. So,
do you have another quadruple than you?
I feel like I do. I don't want to say like I don't want to commit to 4 years, you know, right now, even before the next Olympics hasn't even started. But I could take it year by year, and if things go well and and I'm able to support my family, I'll definitely go for Tokyo.
When you're with that large team in the Bahamas, the CIS team, you're almost like a mentor, a coach, and an athlete. But having those youngsters around you, what sort of inspiration do they give you, and what type of advice are you trying to give them?
Well, I try to get them to be a little more patriotic. They're not as like hardcore Bermuda as I am, and that may be because I'm come along much further in the sport, but you know, it's just getting them to be more supportive, more positive, talk, you know, send positive information out about yourself. Don't tell us, oh, this is gonna be terrible, this is gonna be bad. No, you're here now.
Right.
Just get the work in, go and grind and see what you're capable of in that moment. And I don't, you know, I don't say too much. I don't try to be like too hard on them, but I definitely push at them a little bit and try to let them know that, you know, they need to embrace themselves in the sport here. You're here now. You've done whatever work up to this point. So.
Right. You've had a lot of different challenges throughout your career thus far, and something that I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard or have seen or been through with you. But the inspiration you get from people like Ben and the swimming community in Bermuda, is that one that keeps driving you?
Yeah, I mean, every experience is so different. So you train and you work towards these goals, and then you end up doing things that you didn't even actually think of, or may have thought of once, and then all of a sudden, you know, you find myself on the cover of a magazine in Germany that's all around the airport. You know, just things that you didn't really even foresee. So I think that's the best part. That's very inspiring part, is putting in all that work and then seeing what it blooms. You know, the fruits of your labor, essentially. It's just amazing. That's a very amazing part, and then it helps inspire myself, and then it helps inspire the kids that didn't know what's out there for themselves, and then they could see, oh, Roy, Bermudian like us, came and swam in this pool right here, you know, just like us, and he's been on the cover of a magazine, or he's, you know, sponsored by Finis, the suit company, you know, and Digicel posters and all these kind of things that I just didn't really see. You know, you want them, certain things like that, but until they actually happen, it's very humbling, and it's amazing. I've enjoyed it all.
Talent in Bermuda, natural talent.
Yeah. Bundles.
Is that something? Do you think our natural talented youngsters, you were young in the sport once, do you think we are overachievers as youngsters, but as we get older, the work ethic that it took for maybe someone from another country to get to that level is taken for granted?
I don't know if it's taken for granted. What I see most is the bridge of getting from where we were able to reach at say 14, 15, and then get into that 18, you know, 19, where we could put in that good 4-year work and be, you know, legitimate competitors. What I find is that since we have to train abroad, we're not necessarily taken care of by the American guys or the British guys. You have to really meet a coach that's ready to take you on and drive you to where you're capable of being. And so when you're saying with the talent, we're a very talented group of people. I actually felt like I had the least amount of talent out of the people that I was coming up with, but somewhere I found the work ethic, and that was due to the coach that I had at the time. He drove a work ethic in me, and then I went off the island to train. But like I said, I think that we need more professionalism here at a higher level, and that's difficult to provide. Yeah. You better be able to swim. But yeah, I mean, that's my main thing. I just think we need to do a little more work on figuring out how do we bridge that gap, and I think it probably has more to do with, you know, guys my age staying in the sport. We just eliminate ourselves at 18, 19. We take a couple shots and then we just stop. But that also comes down to how much support you can get, and there's a lot of factors within, you know, that's kind of a loaded question for me, is, you know, getting from A to B. You know, I feel like I have helped provide a route, and that's the reasons why, you know, Julian and Rebecca have been able to get to where they are. Just working with Ben on my own journey and him helping them get right to the point where they can afford themselves an Olympic opportunity, which they now have.
Right. I know in talking to you over the last few years, you were always talking about messages sent.
Yeah.
The level of training you were getting, you were breaking it down and sending it down to Ben, who was able to manipulate it to our standard kind of thing. So they were getting top class training. It's just what you're saying is that we need more consistency of it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another reason for me to, you know, hang around a little longer and just make sure that we keep things coming. Because it's clearly making a difference. Bahamas was the most medals that we've ever won at a Caribbean Championships, and so there's always some kid that comes out of the islands, and we can produce one as long as we keep bridging the gap and keep pushing towards, you know, the pursuit of excellence, essentially. And I think that could be more of a driving factor if we talk to our kids and help them understand the pursuit of excellence and what that entails and what that will provide on either end.
In that team that went to Bahamas, who reminds you of you? Out of all those kids, boy or girl, who reminds you of you when you were, say, 13 or 14?
Well, I mean, they all remind me of just pieces of myself. It's hard to pinpoint, you know, one. You know, if I had to say, definitely I relate a lot to Jesse, and I feel for him. But they're all very, you know, the Bermudian kids, you know. It's all like, I see them and I'm like, I see myself, and so that's where I try to like step in and be like, you don't have to go that route. You know, you can do it this way, and it might work. It'll work out better, I think. But you know, advice is advice. You can take it or leave it, and half the time kids leave it. So it's better to, for me, it's better to lead by example and just kind of stay out front and keep chopping the trees down and create a new path.
Right. Well, I gotta end with it was kind of emotional where your daughter had written a letter.
Yeah.
And it got posted online.
Yeah.
And she wrote some really touching things. You disappointed, you've never seen her dad cry, stuff like that. Take us through you reading that or her telling you that over that period of time.
Man, I couldn't even read it. I looked at it and I was like, I can't read this. Yeah. I was just really like, I was mad at the time, you know, and like I may have interpreted the situation of me not going to Rio differently than what it was, but I had to decompress from a long time, a lot of work, and I did read the little points of what she learned, you know, from me, and I tried to use my, I don't want to call it a failure, just my experience as a teaching point for her that look what happened here. Like, I did all this work and I ended up in this position. So you have to do that. You have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to pursue excellence. Otherwise, you can end up falling far, far shorter than where you expected to be. Yes, buddy. Be careful, please. But that was my main point with her, was just showing her what happened with me and letting her know that, you know, not everything works out. and no matter how hard you believe it in your head, there's always something else going on, and it's bigger than you, and it's bigger than me, and you just have to put in as much as you can and show that you're worthy of continued support. And I think that's what came out of it most, is that, you know, for anybody who understands my injury even a little bit, or even just understands being in a wheelchair, not being able, having to relearn to walk, you know, I think that gives me a certification stamp that I've come back from that for my country to represent, and so I think that makes the value, or makes me worthy of continued support.
Since which, have you read it all?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I have it on my phone. I keep
it. Okay. Is it still as emotional as the first time you try to read it?
No. It's nice to read though. It's good to know that I'm connecting with her. It's good to know that she's hearing what I'm saying, and she's a Bermuda girl. You know, she loves it here, and she really identifies with the people here, even though she hasn't really lived here. She's my girl, you know. She's just loves everything about this place, and so it's been great to get her here and show her around and a little more.
Right. You've been here for a few weeks now?
Yeah, about a week and a half.
Yeah. You've been doing a lot of ocean water experiences.
Yeah.
I've been looking online and seeing, but what is it like being in local waters?
Oh, it's great. It's the best. It's the best. I love getting in the ocean and swimming, you know, way down as far as I can go, and just cruising around, seeing what's underwater. I don't know. It's just relaxing for me, and even just listening to the sound of the water. You know, the silence of the beach. You know, even though you hear the waves crashing, it's like it's quiet. It's tranquil, and I love that. I love the water around here. I've almost crashed a few times looking over, like I'm looking out on the ocean, like, oh, like I'm gonna hit the wall right now.
But it's good to be home.
Yeah,
to see a lot of friends, family.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we look forward to whatever the next year brings for you, and hopefully success at the championship.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.